Hi, I'm Mike. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe and tell a friend. tplmedia.ca for all kinds of great shows. We put up like 4 or 5 a day, all of them focused on the stuff that's important to Canadians. Today's no exception to that. Let me ask you, is your grocery bill coming down week over week, month over month? I'm going to guess the answer is no. Are you noticing any real relief at the grocery store from the grocers that you frequent? I'm guessing the answer is no, but that's weird because now they're being held to a code of conduct. Joining me to talk about it today, reporter at large and contributor for TPL, Shaliza Bacchus. Thanks for coming in.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Well, to have somebody to talk to about this might make me feel a little less crazy.
You're not crazy. And actually, I've actually got some extensive experience working in the retail grocery sphere, if you will.
Yeah,
So,
no, that's actually that was part of this discussion. You were like, wait, I have opinions on this, and I have an experience. Not only do you have people that in your world that you relations that are in the business, you've also participated for many years in the grocery business.
many years.
Yeah, do you want to say where?
No.
Okay, so fair enough. Here's what the code of conduct was meant to do. Now, you tell me if I've missed anything. It was meant to create fair rules between big grocery chains and the suppliers, so that there wasn't price gouging and fixing. Prevent grocery giants from bullying smaller food producers. Okay. I don't. Maybe we can touch on that one a little bit because that one's a little misty to me. Stop surprise fees and sudden contract changes imposed on suppliers. That means, when you supply something and they can't sell it, where does it leave you in that position? How does pricing go? And bullying in that regard, I'm sure, occurs all the time. And then to improve transparency in how food gets priced and sourced. I still have no idea how that happens. So I'm not sure how they're educating us.
I'm honestly not sure either. I mean, I feel like recently, obviously, with everything happening south of the border, we've all been pushing like, buy Canadian, support Canadian brands. What does that even mean? Does that do anything for our economy? Does it make it better? Does it make it a better experience in the grocery store? I don't think it does.
I'm not sure that the tariff impact is even being applied in many of the places that would affect food, but that's for the experts to talk about. But what I really do think is that since this came on, it was like a really big show. Actually, I put down who was involved. There was a lot of people. I make notes on occasion when I don't know what I'm talking about.
I could tell you.
Okay.
I could tell you. So it'd be Loblaw, Sobeys, Metro, Costco, and Walmart.
Okay, so this was a multi-stakeholder discussion. And it was designed to rebalance retailer-supplier relationships. So that's important to note. It was meant to rebalance retailer and supplier relationships, not retailer and consumer relationships.
And I think that has been made pretty clear that the consumers aren't. I don't know what the consumers are really benefiting from this.
Well, apparently there's no guaranteed lower prices, which I thought that's what the mission was. However, even in the code of conduct, that's not it. The code wasn't designed to reduce grocery prices, and they say that we won't likely see cheaper food bills anytime soon. In fact, this is the same group that's telling us, the code of conduct group, those retailers and those grocers and the suppliers are all telling us, well, you better be on the lookout for higher food prices. They're the ones warning us that more is going to come out of our pockets. Impact on pricing is uncertain. So, they're not giving us any predictive data about how we should be pricing our food in the next year. That seems weird to me. Benefits, they will say, take time. So these relationships and rescoring these relationships, we won't see the results of it for some time. Why didn't we start it sooner?
Right. Agreed. I mean, I don't think it's just recently that prices have been rising, that the consumers have been affected. And I'm all for, supporting Canadian and trying to support Canadian suppliers and things like that. But honestly, if I went into the grocery store and I saw an American brand for $1.99 and a Canadian brand for $2.99, which one do you think I'm buying?
No, it's just common sense. Our economy is in such a place that you have to buy according to price in many cases. Yeah, we would love to have the option to say, I'll buy Canadian at, 25% more, but we're already tapped.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see consumers really. I think that if you have a decent income and you're not struggling grocery visit to grocery visit, yeah, maybe looking at only Canadian items or, focus on that. But most Canadians, most people are focused on the price
Yep.
at the checkout.
Mm-hmm.
What now in the business that the business, what are you seeing, if any, effects of this code of conduct? Like, what is happening at the retail end?
In all honesty, not much. If you're working at store level, you're basically taking instructions from whatever the big guys have to say. And yes, we're trying to focus on highlighting Canadian products. And there was a whole big spread with that. And amongst all the major retailers,
Yeah.
I think we're really trying to highlight Canadian things. And then that slowly fizzled away because I think they realized it wasn't sustainable. I think, if we're getting stuff from not the States necessarily, but from places like the Dominican Republic, anywhere else in the Caribbean, sometimes those ethnic produce items have to come from there. And so they're still kind of cheaper. You're still not really supporting Canadian, but then you're not supporting the US. So I think it just became very confusing for a lot of people. So that's why all of this proudly Canadian stuff slowly started to fizzle out.
I think it's a symptom of something else. I'll take a quick left, if I may. I think that we want to cling to something that is patriotic in this country, that we can come
Absolutely.
together for and say, we will not let the U.S. steamroll us. We want to buy Canadian and we have the power to do it. Look at us. We are a strong nation, which in some cases puts us in a position to be viewed as virtue signaling when 8 months later people are kind of like, yeah, I can't. I don't know. I don't know.
The plums are from the U.S., sure.
I don't know who owns this. I got to go. Let's put it in I think that is a really a limited, I think you're right. There was a limited time on that people would tolerate it. Now we expect our government to be making deals to bring in other groceries. A couple of the ideas that got floated around. By the way, I'll give you some stats. You want to hear some stats? People love stats. Stats Canada data shows that food prices increased by 3% between May 2024 and May 2025, even as the code was being introduced. So cost is continued to go up. I guess inflation does that.
Mhm.
Maybe it would be higher without the code.
I don't know. I think it would be the same if I'm being honest. Again, I don't feel like this code really benefits consumers or puts them at the top of mind. And I think it's more for behind the scenes operations that maybe they can cover their own butts with certain things that maybe they couldn't do before or they were
Yeah.
doing before that were not ethical.
It almost feels like they're getting the government's approval to go and do what they were already doing
Yeah.
and just, say they're doing something else. Maybe I'm wrong about that. We'll see. The stats show differently, though. Widespread concern about costs remain high. 81% of Canadians surveyed worried about rising grocery costs. Food inflation hit a 2-year high of 4.7%, almost 5% increase in food year over year.
That's wild.
That is wild.
That's wild.
Is anybody making 5% more at work?
Absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not. And I'm like thinking about, and we were talking about this before we hit record. We were talking about like European grocers and like international grocers. And I'm just thinking that got me thinking a lot about like the cost of flour, for example, the cost of wheat, for example, obviously has gone up. But can you compare the flour that we manufacture here in Canada to the flour in Italy?
No, it's completely different. Oh, wow. Okay. That was a harsh one. No, we can't do flour like Italy
No,
does
we
flour.
can't.
Oh, no.
No, we can't.
Yeah, that's so true.
But
we
just,
would love to have that market brought to
Yes.
us. It's prevented potentially
but
at
it
the
just
moment.
feels like it's all so expensive for mediocre quality. A lot of the food that is manufactured here is making people sick and it's not getting any cheaper. So what are we doing here?
In fact, that packaged and over processed food is just going up in price.
Yeah.
Beyond anything else as well. No, that's a really good point. Well, let's talk about that then. Okay, so maybe it's time. Maybe this code of conduct isn't what we need, or it's only part of the solution. I think the other part of the solution is, well, let's look at the profits. Loblaws did $4 billion in EBITDA. That's earnings before interest, tax, debt, and I can't remember what the A is for. Appreciation.
Something
Any
like
ideas?
that.
I don't know. So, but that was their before cost profit last year. For their shareholders, they had a booming year. And by the way, that's the same, almost a little bit more actually, than what Bell Canada posted as their profitable EBITDA last year. So there's two monopolies, obviously, that we're looking at that are doing very well, that are kind of untethered. for consumers.
Mhm.
I think it's time. So here was one of the ideas we had: open up the market. Why don't we open up the market? Okay, bring in other countries with chains, maybe even Italian chains with good flour.
I'd be the first person in line. I'd
Imagine what
be
the
there.
olives would be like at your Italian
Ooh.
import grocery store. But I mean, let's incite them to be able to come here, get space, compete in the marketplace, bring their supply chain with them, and then make a deal with them to stay here unsupported and unpurchased by other larger entities. So they can't be bought up by Loblaws or Walmart or Costco, and they have to keep in that position for 10 years. Well, why wouldn't we do that to see what would happen? If we open up the market, beautiful things can happen. If people want into the market with their product, they will find their way in on our terms.
Mhm.
That might be a better position for consumers.
It might be. But then how do you go about that? And how do you think the government would be okay with that, really?
I think that one of the things that we forget is that the government is us, right? And although they wield a lot of power, the only reason we got a GCOC, which, by the way, I think, what's it, the Grocery Code of Conduct?
Mhm.
I was going to do the acronym.
I thought you were. I thought that's where we were going.
But I'll keep it classy. The thing is, this came about because we had an issue and we pushed the government so hard. If we did the same thing to say, okay, this isn't working, nice try, guys, you didn't really give us a solution that we were demanding. What we want is an open market. The other idea, Jim Lang throwing around at our staff meeting the other day, and if you have one, by the way, comment. Do you have ideas about how we should be doing this better? Because we'll bring it back. We revisit topics. This one definitely comes up a lot. What if we put subsidies out there on the basics? The flour, the bread, the grains, the
butter, the milk,
right,
eggs.
all of our basics, all the things that we need as standard basics. Why don't we subsidize that? Then, I mean, price anything else outside of that as it needs to be, because those are not necessities. But maybe the necessities need to be handled.
Yes. And I think that's what it comes down to, is that the average Canadian is struggling to afford just the necessities. We're not talking about the sugary breakfast cereals, the, TV dinners, literally bread, milk, eggs.
You and I were talking, bread just went up.
Yeah. The off-brand loaf of bread where I work was $1.99 for the longest time.
Yeah. That's a reasonable price for a loaf of processed bread.
Yeah. And just recently, it went up to over $2. I think $2.49 or something like that.
So it went up significantly.
And mind you, the Wonder Bread is on sale for the same price.
So there's no incentive to buy Canadian, to buy local, to buy at that grocer's end. We'll actually reach out into other markets because the pricing's similar and the brand is known.
Exactly. And you're looking at that for everything, not just loaves of bread. If you're walking the whole store and you see the off-brand, they're within pennies of a difference of the brand name stuff. So what are we doing here, and what's the difference?
Yeah, we really do need to address that, especially supporting local brands. We want to get back to making stuff here in Canada, not importing it. Let's make product and subsidize it so that we can get it into the stores and into our carts.
Make it affordable for people.
Yeah, make it affordable. What are the any other things that you see at the retail end that this code of conduct is causing retailers?
I mean, I think it's confusing consumers more than anything, because I think that they think something like this comes into effect as an average consumer. Okay, that means things are going to drop. That means prices are going to drop. People who don't understand how the business works, how overhead costs works, how supply chains work, they just instantly think they're going to walk through the doors and they're going to see a difference.
Right.
And understandably, nothing can happen overnight.
No, that's fair, but things can happen quickly.
Exactly.
Certain things can happen quickly.
And I feel like trying to cap food prices or trying to lower them is something that could have happened a little quicker, especially if you're a company making over $4 billion in a year.
You want to hear what they're saying?
What are they saying?
Because they will come back. So I made some notes about some of the stuff that the grocers have said. They'll say the code of conduct was not meant to cut grocery prices. Okay. And they'll say some resisted it at first, but Walmart, Canada, Loblaws initially hesitated to sign on to the code, partly because of concerns about its potential impact on operations and pricing. So Some of them are even lumbering into this code of conduct because they're like, I don't know, this doesn't really work in our business model. So even what they're putting out there, the big guys, Costco and Walmart, are saying, really, this doesn't work for our model. So I don't know what you want us to do. They're not adhering to anything.
So with that being said, then, doesn't that mean that the model needs to be revisited?
Yeah, 100%. I believe. They'll also argue that they're already working on affordability. For example, Costco's leadership has told lawmakers the company isn't seeking extra profit from inflation and works with suppliers to reduce costs. Meanwhile, Costco are the guys that if they don't sell your product, they want you to come pick it up and you don't get paid until it's been banked for 90. Like, the deal for the suppliers can't be any better than it is for the consumers.
No.
There's just no way.
It's not.
So maybe what we need is a different intermediary in there that is not Loblaws or Costco or Walmart or
Metro.
I mean,
the other one. Yeah, that's it. Sobeys. That's
you know what? Between us, we would have finished the quiz. But
yeah.
I do think that something has to happen. I think we have to do something that focuses on putting food in our bellies that's healthy at prices that we can afford. And then anything outside of that, we can start to make the free market. But I think it's time to rein this in. I don't think the grocery code of conduct is working.
I don't think it is either. And again, as an average consumer walking through a store, if you see a frozen TV dinner on sale for $1,
go on. Which
right?
kind? Salisbury steak?
The what is it? The pasta ones, like the broccoli cheddar and whatever.
Oh, okay, I like those too.
I like those too. But they're filling and they're quick and they're easy.
Yeah.
You can grab 5 of those for the price that it would cost you to buy pasta, vegetables, sauce, whatever the case is. Right? So that we're struggling with that too, because we're thinking about the price tag, but then we're like, well, if I can get full for this, that is not healthy whatsoever. It's pumped full of sodium and preservatives and all of those things.
Yeah.
But some of us just simply can't afford the fresh ingredients.
One more thing, fresh butcher. Okay. So I go to Fortino's and I go to these. This is my own personal experience. There's no liable here. This is my experience. I go there and I see the price on meat, and it is outrageous at this moment. And then I go to the local butcher, and I'm going to name them too. doTERRA Fine Foods. You'll find them in Maple. No, they don't pay me to say this. Best meat in the country at lower pricing than I'll find at any of those larger chains.
So why is that? How is that?
Explain
that. Where is the meat? Is the meat not coming from the same place, or is it not?
It's definitely not, because the quality at doTERRA is so much higher than what I get at any of the chains that there's no way it's coming from the same place, and something is getting in the way of the pricing.
Make it make sense.
Make it make sense. Can you help us make sense of it? Maybe you're even in the grocery business. Maybe you are a grocer, but certainly if you have an opinion or some information you think that we should pass along, put it into the comments. We'll bring it up and we'll share it around. Shaliza, thanks so much.
Thank you.
See you next time.